What's going on, OPB? Mitch here from the omnibuddy channel to do an overview with you on Batman Black Mirror. All right, so I am so excited to finally get to read this story. I have been eyeing the Absolute for an absolutely long time. Pun didn't work. But I have been eyeing this book and this story for so long, wanting to finally be able to dive into it. The Absolute's been a little hard to find, but the deluxe edition finally came out, and dang, I am so glad I finally got to read this story. I love Scott Snyder. Jock's art is insanely good, and Francesco Francavella's art, he is one of my absolute favorite artists. When I was getting into comics, when I was first getting into comics, one of the first series I really started picking up in single issues was the Black Beetle, and that is by Francesco Francavella. I have some overviews on the Black Beetle books, and so if you're interested in some super pulpy noir, definitely check that out. But I have been so excited to be able to see these three crazy good creators bring on one of the top DC, top superheroes in all of comics, Batman. All right, let's find out why this book is so great. This is Batman the Black Mirror. This is written by Scott Snyder and illustrated by Jock and Francesco Francavella. This is known as the final Batman storyline in the post-crisis DC universe, before the reboot to the DC New 52 that happened around 2011. This was originally printed in an Absolute edition, and it is getting hard to find, out of print, all of that. So it has now been reprinted in this beautiful deluxe edition by DC Comics and retails for $49.99 USD. So while I'm not going to go into all of the plot details because I don't believe in giving too many spoilers or anything like that, I did want to give an overview of the basic premise of the Black Mirror. This tells a story of Dick Grayson as he has become Batman, while Bruce Wayne is involved in Batman Incorporated. If you want to know more about that, check out Grant Morrison's Batman Incorporated. Really great stuff. Very Grant Morrison, if you like Grant Morrison. So in this story, Dick Grayson is Batman, and he is going up against multiple villains, some new, some old, some interesting characters that I have never seen before personally, so maybe they aren't new, but I have not seen them before. And the whole time while Dick is battling these villains, Jim Gordon is also in the story, weaving in and out as he and his daughter Barbara are dealing with their own familial issues, as Barbara's brother and Jim Gordon's son, James Gordon Jr., returns mysteriously under interesting, weird circumstances, and you quickly find out, if you have not known already, that he is not up on the up. There is something very off about his character, and the whole time you're left trying to figure out if there's really something off about James Gordon, or if it is a trust, familial issue, and bad sets of circumstances that have happened within this family, with Jim and Barbara struggling with their relationship with James. It's very interesting to watch that family dynamic. I personally have not read many books that involve Jim and Barbara's relationship, so then to toss in the James Gordon brother dynamic was very cool, very interesting, and played out very well over the course of this entire book. While some of these stories don't seem interconnected, I will say that they all do fold together nicely and work together well. As I was reading, I was like, what is going on? Why are all of these stories kind of being told independently, but also being woven together? And then as a story starts to draw to a conclusion, you really see how these are tied together. It was an amazing story, really well told. I loved that the art switched between Jock and Francavilla. One has that grittier, dirtier style being Jock, and then you have that very pulpy noir mystery style with Francavilla. They blended together super well, and it just went back and forth. And really, like, with the first transition, it was a little abrupt and I was a little thrown, but once it happens a couple times, you're just along for the ride, which is the whole point of this book, is you are just along for the ride. This is Dick Grayson as Batman at its best, with Grayson really struggling to find himself as Batman, as a member of society in Gotham, and dealing with his personal issues, but also really trying to find his footing as Batman and replacing the world's greatest detective. This is a true detective story with that really dark underbelly of Gotham, and when you turn that leaf over, you're not sure what you're going to find, but you're probably not going to like it. But even so, this book was beautiful. Beautiful art, beautifully told, interesting characters, great characterization, really thick plot that really drives home all of the themes I've already talked about. If you are at all interested in a detective Batman book, this is definitely one I would recommend that you start with. All right, so that was a quick look at Batman Black Mirror. Dang, that book was so good. Like, I know it's super hyped up. Everyone talks about Black Mirror. I really had no idea what the story was about because I'm very much anti-spoilers, so I don't even really watch trailers. I might watch like the first teaser of a new movie coming out or a series, but I do not like to read the back of the books. I don't like to ask people for like a synopsis of the stories or anything like that I'm going to be reading or I'm interested in reading. So I went into this book basically completely blind, knowing only that it's a Batman book with three of my favorite creators on it. And wow, I'm so glad that I had no idea what to expect in this book, because it's so cool going into a series and going into a story where you don't know what the tones really, I mean, you can kind of get a tone from the book cover and all of that, but you don't really know what you're in for until you start getting into it. And then, man, this book gets pretty dark. It gets pretty dicey there, but super good and super well told. I loved the characterizations. I loved the storytelling. It was a little weird switching from Jock art to Francavilla art, but I love both those artists, so it worked for me. And frankly, like the noir feel of the second half of the book, and that having that Francavilla on there just fits and just works. And then having Jock on the front of the book, being very gritty and just kind of that grimy Gotham feel, really fits too. So both of these guys working in tandem to tell this kind of big overarching story about Batman, and not even really the original Batman, but like Dick Grayson, and telling his story when he's Batman, part of his story when he's Batman. Super cool, super well told. I love this book. If you know me and my channel, I don't really do much DC and Marvel. I know I have a bunch of Marvel and a bunch of DC over there, but for the past 2-3 years, I have been on an indie publisher kick, and so I haven't been reading a ton of DC or Marvel or big two books, but I'm so glad when I am able to jump into these shorter, quick, kind of one-off stories where you don't need to know a whole bunch of canon to really understand what you're getting. You just have good ideas of who these characters are, a little bit of their backstories, and you can just be off to the races with it. If you know the deep lore and canon of all this, that's only going to add to it, but you don't need to know it. I could hand this off to one of my brothers who don't know a ton about Jim Gordon or Dick Grayson or anything like that. They just need to know, okay, well, Batman's gone and Dick Grayson's Batman right now, and you're kind of off to the races. They might need to know, maybe a little bit of the Killing Joke or something like that. you know, what happens and Oracle and all that a little bit, but really you don't even need to know much about that. It's super cool to be able to get into a DC book and not have to be kind of strapped down with all of that previous canon and all of that history. So absolutely love this book. Super fun. Highly recommend it. If you are thinking about getting the deluxe or trying to find and track down that absolute, go for it. But you can definitely grab this book now because it's brand new out on the shelves. Grab it through OPB, and you can use my code omnibuddy, $2 off every order of 1 to 3 books. 4+ books, you can use omnibuddy, ship it together, or any of the other creator codes out there. Support a creator out there and get 5% off of your order of 4 more books. Be careful if you're pre-ordering because you got to wait for all of them to be in before they're going to ship because they ship it together. Anyways, that's it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notification, do all those things, but the most important thing to do is comment. What is your favorite one-off story of Batman? So it could be anything from like a Black Mirror or anything like that, maybe even up to like an omnibus of like Gotham Central. That is one of my favorites too, of like Batman. And it's not even really that much about Batman. It's about, you know, what happens after Batman's been around or right before Batman's around. But let me know in the comments what your favorite one-off Batman story is. I guess it could just be DC wide. So we could make a DC. What's your favorite one-off DC book? I just read Wonder Woman Dead Earth. I loved that. Catwoman Lonely City. Super good. All super good books. I love the Black Label stuff. But anyways, let me know in the comments. Love talking with you all. All right, take care. Stay cool.